Good morning, Mr. Herman here with us looking at some complex numbers. The other day we did look at some of our square roots and we looked at some negatives inside our square roots and we figured out that we have a problem. When we looked in our calculator, we had square root -1 and it told us it's a non-real answer. And we don't like dealing with non-real things. However, there is something that we do have to deal with non-real numbers in math. So we have this number I, and it's going to signify a complex number. So mathematicians have decided that we're going to say that I equals the square root of -1. Okay, that's a definition that mathematicians have decided on. And we call these complex numbers. We're going to write complex numbers in the form of a plus bi. And a number is either going to be real or complex. So if we have I raised to 0 power, anything raised to 0 power is always going to equal 1. I to the first is going to equal itself. Anything to the first is going to equal itself. I squared is interesting because then it comes over to, if I have squared and a square root, those are inverse operations, I'm just left with this -1 here. And then my I cubed, well, I'm thinking, okay, I cubed, maybe I to the first and I to the second, maybe 1, positive I, -1, maybe negative I. It is going to be a negative I here, okay? So negative I is going to be there in our pattern. And that's something that we'll look at, hopefully, through an investigation of looking at powers of I to see the patterns that are going on there, okay? Combining like terms. So when we combine like terms here, it's going to work just as a regular variable would. Okay, so with parentheses and addition, we don't really need them, so we can say 2 plus 3i plus 1 minus 2i. So we've got our numbers. 2 plus 1 is 3. In our i's, we have 3 i's. We take away 2 i's, so we have positive 1 i. Over here, we've got 3 minus 2i minus 4 plus i. We've got a negative here, so we need to distribute our negative. So we have 3 minus 2i, negative goes to the 4. Negative also goes to this plus I, so it's going to be minus I. And now once again, we're just combining our like terms. What do we have that's the same? We've got a number and a number, so 3 minus 4, -1, minus 2i, minus I. We're going to have -2, take away another one, minus 3i. All right, now we're going to do some work with our multiplication. Now this is just going to remind us of our distribution, our distributive property. I get some extra practice with that. There's one thing that's going to be a little bit different, a little bit weird. Not weird, but included in the simplifying of what we're doing. Okay, so we're going to start off. We know that everything in the first group gets multiplied by everything in the second group. So we go 2 times 3 gives us 6. 2 times -2i gives us -4i. I times 3 gives us 3i. I times -2i gives us -2i squared because we have I times I. Now before we simplify, a couple things we got to take a look at with our simplification. One is going to be our i's, okay? So we've got -4i, and we have 3i. So that's going to give us -i. But then we also have something here. We've got this I squared, okay? So we know that I squared equals -1, okay? So what I need to do here is I need to take my -2 times -1. Okay, now my orange 6 out here is going to stay. And so I've got 6 minus I minus 2 times -1. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write this as +2 because we have -2 times -1. And now when I simplify, I've got my 6 and my 2 are both like terms. And then I have just the -I, and I'm going to end up with 8 minus I. Okay, so what I did was I distributed. I got to 6 minus 4i plus 3i minus 2i squared. I combine my just regular i's, and then I simplified this I squared because I know that I squared is equal to -1. Okay? And then when I combine my like terms here after simplifying, I got to 8 minus I. Now we'll take a look at a couple more. Get some practice here. So you've got 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times plus 3i is plus 15i. Minus 3i times 5 is minus 15i. Minus 3i times positive 3i is minus 9i squared. Now this one's nice because we have plus 15i, minus 15i. That's 0i. Okay, now let's come back with our purple for our I squared. So -9 times -1 gives us plus 9. We've got our 25 still out front. And 25 plus 9 is going to give us 34. Okay. We'll go ahead and do, let's just do one more. We're not going to do all of them here. If you want to do the last one on your own, I can give you the answer for that. Check it with me in class. Let's look at one more here. Let's do this one. We got some negatives in here. I like it. 2i times -2i is going to be -4i squared. 2i times -4 is -8i. -4 times -2i is positive 8i. -4 times -4 is positive 16. Okay. Once again, we've got this -8i plus 8i is 0i. And then we've got our I squared, so -4 times -1, also plus 4. And we still have our plus 16 over here, and that's going to come out to 20. If you have a question on this last one, feel free to work it out on your own, and I can check it for you. But I'll leave that one to you. Last thing here we got, we're going to look at some square root. So we saw this kind of a little bit in our think, pair, share the other day. But we're going to go ahead and simplify these with negatives inside the square roots. Okay? So when I break this up, I can break it down into things that I can multiply. So I want to multiply this to be, I know this is 25 and -1. I know -25, I get it from 25 times -1. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of -1 we know is I. Okay, so that's what I can do, is I can just take out what I know, split it up, and simplify each square root. All right, now I'm going to do this one here, and I'm going to do square root of 25 times square root of -1 and square root of 3. Okay, now I know that 25 goes in there 3 times, and 25 is a perfect square. I can look on my chart to see that. That's going to give me 5. Square root of -1, that's going to give me I. And then this square root 3, I know that nothing multiplies by itself to make 3, so I'm just going to do square root 3. All right, let's go to another one. I split up my square root -4. Square root +4, square root -1. My 3's got to sit out front. I can't just get rid of my 3. So now I've got 3 times 2i, and then 3 times 2 is going to give me 6i. Then our last one here. Now we got a problem here. I can split this one up to square root 5, but I know that nothing times itself is going to make 5, because 2 times 2 is going to give me 4, 3 times 3 gives me 9, so 5 is not going to be nice there. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to have square root 5 and I. Now, be careful, because this I needs to be outside of your square root. If it's inside your square root, it will be incorrect. Okay? So, let's go ahead and work on our exit ticket and our homework to get some more practice on adding, subtracting, and multiplying with complex numbers.